What is up, everybody? It's your host, Sam Hoops to Holmes Coleman, aka the Property Brother, and I'm back with you. We're back with you with another episode in the series, How It's Going versus How It Started. Back with the lovely Kara Coleman, and this episode we're going to talk about 2019. So 2019 wasn't really a good year for us, but it was ultimately the best year to help us have a great 2020. It was a bad year, but it was a good year at the same time. So we'll get right into it. So I got an icebreaker for you, Kara. What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie would be Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo?
Yeah.
I definitely did not see that coming.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the just keep swimming. I relate that to my life a lot.
Okay, I can see that. Can you swim?
Can you swim?
Listen, I'm the host. I ask the questions.
I've tried to teach Sam to swim.
That's not the topic. Cut that part.
Okay.
God. So how was 2019 for you? Like, we can talk about the macro look of 2019, but then we'll break it down and go the moments that made it so bad before it got good. Because 2019 for us was not the vibe. So
No.
What was your 2019 like?
Yeah, so I turned 30 in January of 2019. So I think that, I essentially moved from being a young tenderoni into an adult
You're
woman.
still a young tenderoni.
I know. I turned 30. So lots of adjustments, I think. Like, we were still adjusting to become parents. Your business, I think, was changing a little bit. You had just, suffered the loss of a good friend. But overall, 2019, how it was for me, it was honestly not a great year looking back on it.
Yeah.
I think it was more bad than good, but I think it also set us up, like you said, for where we are in 2020.
Yeah. I like to look at 2019 as a year of refinement. We learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about our marriage, and we could write a book about 2019 for sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily say it was all bad. It was the small moments of the year that just felt like it trumped everything else.
Yeah. I think there were a lot of good things that happened. Obviously it wasn't just like a whole year of bad, but there was a lot of like selfishness.
Yeah.
There was a lot of misunderstanding. Just, having a baby, and for me, I didn't grow up around, like, I was the first one out of all my friends to have babies. I don't have any siblings, so I experienced a lot of things that I wasn't really ready for. And I don't know if you were necessarily ready either to walk through those things with me. I wasn't clinically diagnosed with postpartum depression, but when I look back on it, I think I had some type of that in different forms. Like, there's a thing called postpartum rage, and I would just get mad at Sam for no reason, and I hated Sam. I hated to look at Sam.
And I had no idea. I'm just like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, his presence just irritated me, which is not what you want when you have this new baby who needs you. So yeah, so it was just, I don't know, it was not a great year, and I'm sure we'll get into the things then.
And everybody that knows me know I did exactly what she wanted me to do, not be present. So I worked longer hours, and I used to spend 3-4 hours at the gym. Literally, that's what I would do. I would get home, pull up in the driveway, my phone would be ringing, I would be trying to handle deals, I would be all this stuff, and I would just sit there and just turn music on. 15 minutes, get my mind right, and it was like, now I gotta go be a husband. That's what we had a period of that for. Man, I don't even know how to deal with this. I had no idea what postpartum rage or postpartum depression was, never heard of it, and I just did not understand why this woman was so mean and so selfish. I had no idea what it was like, but until now I can tell you all about it. But and it does get greater later. If you're going through that right now, you're like, bro, me too. I don't know what's wrong with my lady. I don't know what's wrong with my wife. there will come a point where it will get better, because that's why we got 2020. 2020 was, yeah. If I can go back and know that 2020 was coming, even in the midst of a pandemic, that it will get better and she'll actually like me again, I'm like, all right, I'll just be counting down the months. But what like being a new mom, like Gianna was super young, and you're going through the postpartum depression. What was it like not having any help, like not having? So we're here in Vegas. All your friends are back in Ohio. We have very limited friends here. But then at that point, who else had babies at that time? We had a couple friends, but nobody really could help you with to process those feelings.
Yeah, I mean,
what was that like?
Yeah, so I mean, it was isolating, it was depressing and sad. Gianna actually had reflux, so I don't know if most people know what that looks like in a baby, but she basically would just scream nonstop, and no matter what I was doing, I would feed her, rock her, change her, love her, and she would just still scream her head off until we found out what was wrong. So as a new mom, that is really, those feelings are hard. And I just remember so many times like sitting in the closet crying, sobbing, asking God, like, why is this happening to me? So I think like nothing could have prepared me for that and those feelings. And it really does take a village to raise children. So if you don't have that village or those people to talk to, you feel alone. And so I felt alone. And Sam, you're my husband, so I would try to express those feelings to you. And sometimes, you just wouldn't get it how I wanted you to get it.
Yeah.
You're definitely more empathetic now, but where you were back then, it was just like I would offload on you and you would just be silent. And it's like I just sat in silence, like processing these feelings all day. I need you to say something. So it was really tough. And that was like her as a baby. And then obviously things got better, and I feel like I felt like I was getting the hang of being a mom. And then she became a toddler, and that's just a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So basically during that time, I'll give you guys a little insight. With me, it took me 32 years to learn empathy. Like, no exaggeration. I just figured this out like last week. But I would sit in silence. Like, I know some people are like, man, that's mean. Like, my mind, the way I'm wired, as you guys get to know me in different platforms and things like that, I am very, very, very positive and solution based. Now, that's very black and white, and life isn't black and white, and I get that now. Life is more, there are going to be times where it's going to be full of color, right? It's not black, white, it's not gray. It's going to be, you're going to get hit with some yellow, you're going to get hit with some red, you're going to get hit with some blue, you're going to have some sunshine sometimes, right? But my mind was so direct, I had tunnel vision, and the only thing I wanted from Kara was to have an athletic based mindset. And which is not realistic. I wanted her to push through those times where I was like, I know it's hard. I know we haven't slept. I know we don't know what's going on with our baby, right? I wanted her to just say, you know what? Let me pull up my britches. For those that don't know, that's an old school term to say pull up your pants. I want you to pull up your pants, put your big girl pants on, and just be like, you know what? This is what mamas do, right? Mamas just do it. And she was doing it the best way that she knew how. She just didn't have, like, how could I expect her to just do something that she don't even know how to do? So we struggled through that time, and I would automatically go to silence because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. So I ended up just saying nothing. And I was so selfish in that time because in my mind, I'm like, I can't deal with this because I have people's lives that are on the line. People are making the largest purchase of their home. I had just started to consistently, like on a monthly basis, sell multi-million-dollar luxury homes. And I couldn't afford to go into somebody's home like I hadn't slept all night. Right. I just couldn't bear those emotions. So I felt like I had to choose between comforting my wife, which I felt like I was comforting and it wasn't working. If I stayed quiet, that wasn't working. But I still had to sell homes to put food on the table. And yeah, it was just a very unique time where we learned so much about ourselves during that moment. Yeah. And thank God that I had to go through the things that I had to go through. On top of losing Rashad, I lost my best friend in a car accident. That previous in 2018, at the end of 2018, but I was dealing with that, being a new dad again, and trying to deal with your emotions. And my wife don't like me. My business is tough. All this stuff at one time. So it was a combination of all that for both of us that made it not the best time at all. Yeah. But we got through it though.
We did.
Yeah. And I'm grateful. I just want to say, looking at you, even talking about it, I literally just want to say thank you for still being there, for not quitting with me, because I wanted to quit.
I know.
I wanted to quit. So that's my next question. So, everything. So you had a good birthday, right?
Yeah.
Gianna's a toddler. You're going through postpartum rage. I'm basically not being a nice guy.
Yeah.
Where all this stuff is just festering. We don't have, we're having conversations. I'm starting to have conversations with men, and you're having your separate conversations. And then we get to the end of the year now, and I basically say, you know what, I've had it. I've lost it. I've gotten all this stress built up so much. I'm done. I'm out. When I first said those words to you, now I don't want you to relive this, nor do I want to relive it. We've had these conversations over and over again, but I want to give everybody the authentic truth of, how that fourth quarter was, what made 2019 so bad. What was that like? When we separated?
Yeah, so I think what shocked me the most when you said those words to me, it was just, I didn't understand how we had gotten there, because that's one thing that I think happens in marriages, is where you go on to autopilot and you fight about certain things, but you think you fix it, and if there's a communication problem, which I think we did have back then, that you think it's solved, but really you just swept it under the rug. And so it shocked me, because those words are so final, and to me it never seemed like what we went through was worthy enough of a divorce. And I just kind of knew you were throwing in the towel. So, and I wasn't okay with that. And I think when something big like that happens, you start the grief process in a sense. So I remember there was a situation where I would bargain with you, please, let's do everything that we want to, that we can before we make this decision. And then I just got angry, and so then I started doing things out of anger. And at the time I was also pregnant. We just found out I was pregnant with Layla, so there was a level of I was how could he be so evil and leave me after everything that we've been through and done, and how did we fall out of love right in front of my eyes? It was just one of those things where, when I remember telling you, I looked, when we married each other, that was it for me. I believe so much in marriage that, God loves marriage, and I just wasn't willing to give up like that. And it hurt to see that you were so ready to just walk away from what we've built over the last 6 years. So it was shocking. I will say, I know that it's more common than it's not. I know there are probably people watching this right now that have been through the same exact situation. We even went as far as getting divorce paperwork filled out. Praise God, neither one of us signed it, but it's hard. Marriage is not easy. And when you have a new baby and you do all these things, even if you don't have new babies, even just walking as a married couple, it's just tough. And you have to literally put your marriage first every day. You have to. And now that we've been through that, I look back at 2019 and I see that we didn't do that. It was you put your business first, I put raising Gianna and being a working mom first, and then you kind of got what was left over from me, and same from you. And that's just not how a healthy marriage works. So it was a really hard year for me. I can talk about it now, I think, without feeling hurt. I don't, haven't cried yet, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's because what is happening now in 2020 is just so beautiful. Like, I literally told him last night, like, I'm so in love with you.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy. And that made me cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you talk.
I love you.
I love you too.
So, I asked for a divorce. We just found out you were pregnant, and literally like a few weeks, maybe a couple months, before we even found out that you were pregnant, I had wanted to go get a vasectomy.
Yeah.
And we actually had an argument. We got in a full-blown fight about that because you felt like it was so selfish, and that you potentially would want more kids because you were an only child. And I was like, you know what we just went through with Gianna, like, I don't want to go through this again. Like, I don't want to, that Kara, that's not who I married. I didn't sign up for this. And now, and at this point, like, I feel like I've been married to 6 different people, right? I've seen so many different versions of you, but that's one that I was like, man, I'm good. I don't need to see this one ever again. And then you're like, I'm pregnant. The first thing I thought was, man, this all could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Like, I could have had this fixed 3 weeks ago, a month ago, right?
Right.
So when we find out, and then I can't even remember what the argument was. We had a really bad fight, and that's what prompted that. But after I even said it, it was kind of like, oh my God, like, I just said I wanted a divorce. I can't believe I just said that. And then, one of the, biblically, like, where your heart is, there your treasure will be also. And like you said, my business was my baby, not you or my actual children. And from the time that I said that to the actual getting to the divorce table, it cost me $30,000. It cost $30,000 to go through that. And at that time, that was a commission check that I spent from a home that it took a year to build that home. I got the commission check, and that whole commission check went to the divorce. So that didn't even happen. So during that time, I learned a lot about myself. And then I even started to question myself, like, with the athletic-based mindset, saying, like, are you quitting? Like, what about your children? Like, what about generational curses? And then all the people of the world are saying, oh, you got to be happy too. Do what's best for you. Oh, you can do it again. You'll find love again. Blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm challenging it because of the roots within myself. And I'm just like, that's not okay. Let me sit by myself. So at this point, I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm literally losing my mind. And I'm like, I got to do something. And then we get a text message from our friends, and they're like, we need to sit down together. We need to sit down together and talk about this. And they were actually our neighbors, and just beautiful people. And they helped us basically get to where we are.
Yeah. Yeah, they that was like a very God ordained relationship. So shout out to Stephanie and Vince. We lived next door to them, and they had a very similar story. It's actually, when I met Stephanie and she told me this story, when they shared their testimony, my mouth hit the ground, because this was prior to anything that happened between us. Mm-hmm. So I was like, how did you forgive him?
Yeah, in your mind, you were like, oh, I would never do that.
I would never forgive him.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, Jesus, girl. And at the time, I knew God, and I knew that that's what we were lacking too. I think we left that out. Back in 2019, we were in such a shift that we weren't a part of a church anymore, because the church we were a part of kind of moved to a different format. And a lot of our friends from that church, they still reached out, but we just weren't surrounding ourselves with the right type of people, which mm-hmm. I'm going to talk about probably later when you ask me another question. But she had said, like, Jesus, and I'm like, man, okay, well, bless you for forgiving like Jesus. And then come to find out a year later, we're in the exact same situation. So when they reached out to us, at that point, there was so much hurt that was done, I think, from you to me, that I didn't really want to sit down. But at that point, I shifted my prayers and my focus on you to, I'm so worried about Sam's salvation. Like, I'm worried about Sam like what he's doing in his life. And at that point I was like, you know what, I'll remove my hurt, Stephanie, and I'll sit down at that table and I will talk to him and I will do what it is. And I mean, I can't thank you guys enough. I know you're probably watching this, so I'm just really grateful for God.
Yeah, me too. So in that time, like, I was so angry and hurt that I was trying to hurt you. And I didn't even see it at the time. It was just happening. It was a combination of just unraveling my ego, unraveling the trauma from losing Rashad, unraveling the relationship hurt that we've had from how you treated me during the postpartum rage. Just all of those things combined, and me not feeling comfortable enough to express myself to you or release it to anybody else, to where like all that pent up demand just came out in so many vicious different ways. And then when I finally got to stand back and look at it from a bird's eye view, I was kind of like, what are you doing? And then, like, again, like I said, like, all my business, like, externally, I looked fine. Like, externally, my business was thriving. Like, I took all that time that I was pouring into my family, and I just put it into my business. So January I had a super successful month. December was a super successful month. January was a super successful month. And that was a result of me taking all that time in, but I wasn't happy. I was more alone than I had ever been in my life. And then I had started to realize, like, wait, the enemy comes to devise. He wants to devise. He wants to destroy. So, like, my life is literally in shambles. And I realized that, like, all this stuff that I'm searching for, like, God already has it for me. He gave me a beautiful wife. He gave me a beautiful family. Like, he gave me a beautiful life. And like, love starts within. I didn't love myself. It had nothing to do with you. All that hurt was coming from within myself, and I was projecting it on everybody. And those that know me know I don't have a lot of friends, right? I don't talk to a lot of people or hang out with a lot of people. I know a lot of people, but I don't share myself with hardly anybody. And you were the only person. You were the person that became my punching bag. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
It's just so, like, incredible to see where you are just with knowing yourself finally. This is literally an answered prayer for me. These are prayers that I've prayed for years.
Yeah.
So, and that's just kind of like another side note, and shout out to God, is that, you know, I think sometimes we use God as like, God, please do this right now. And, you know, I've been praying prayers to God about Sam's pride for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like it wasn't until you went to California to Danny's, retreat you went to, mm-hmm. where you actually, like, saw it as a true problem. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, you are just transforming and changing. Like, it's so attractive to me to see you, like, more in tune with your feelings.
Yeah.
So.
I honestly, like, the pride issue, like, I still have to challenge myself at times, just knowing the fact that, like my ego will get me in trouble because I'm a man of principles, a man of mantras. So I would rather, like, I hate losing more than I love winning. So, like, I will prove a point to win, to not lose, even if it means the world will come crashing down. And that has gotten me into a lot of trouble. And just starting to see, like, even when I went to the Relentless and with my coach, with Danny, and I saw, like, I got to see another man, how he loved his wife, and he was so open about loving his wife, and then where they had come from with almost a very parallel story, to see that, and I'm like, bro, like, that's what I want. Yeah. I don't want their marriage, but like, why can't I look at my wife like that? Why can't she look at me like that? Why can't we grow and go to another level? And then as I started to really, like, pray and really seek the answer, seeking you shall find, I started to realize, like, we have had it. Like, everything we've ever needed in our marriage is already within us. We just, like, God is just literally here with the platter, like, here. This is the beautiful life. I have come to give you life and life more abundantly. It's here for you. You just guys have to take it. So, and that's what I've realized, and it has brought us to such a beautiful place. And every day, like, I literally can't imagine my life without you. right? But at the same time, it's like there's still another level that we can go to. There's still so much more. We haven't even scratched the surface. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
And not in a cliche way.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you would say that we've put in place to make our relationship better?
So we started to do weekly dates, so date nights. We also implemented going on trips like every couple months, every quarter, I'd say.
Yeah, like once a quarter.
Yeah, so going and doing that, getting away from the kids, so kid-free trips essentially. And then like check-ins. So one thing that I think is important that we didn't do in the past that we do now is doing those touch points, right? So is there anything, you always ask me, are you happy? Is there anything that I can do to help you better? And I try to do the same. So I think that has changed a lot too. Especially how often we do it. I feel like it's once a week. Like you'll ask me randomly, and it's always good, right? But it's still good to know that if like something were to shift, that we are talking about that stuff.
Yeah, I got you. So let's wrap it up. I'm so thankful that we get to do this.
Me too.
This is only the second episode. We got 4 more to go.
Yeah.
And I think that somebody can find value in this. So there's a young couple, a young married couple or engaged couple, right? They're walking through a season right now where they're like, I can relate. Like, I don't like her, I don't like him. Like, let's quit. Maybe we're not the one. This is a sign. Somebody that's going through that right now. What advice would you give them, a young married couple or engaged couple that's walking through a tough season right now?
I love this question. So don't quit. And if everyone around you is telling you to quit, find you some new friends. So I think one of the biggest things that caused our division were people that were worldly and fed us those lies that we could go out and find somebody else. But you know, when you go out and find someone else, yeah, you can find someone, but they're going to come along with their own problems, right? So I would say find you some friends that believe in the same things that you believe in. God loves marriage, and I know we love God, and so just finding people who believe in the same thing. It's crucial to have a circle of people who believe in you and believe in your marriage. And I'm so thankful that we had those people, even when we didn't believe in our marriage, because those prayers of those people are why I think we're sitting here right now. So one of the reasons why we're sitting here right now, right? Like, we did the hard work, and obviously this is what God wants, because I can feel, it all over our marriage. I can feel his yes. A word that God gave me when I was sitting in City Light Church, where we go to church, when all this was going down in the beginning, was stand. And it was the hardest season of my life, and I'm like, why am I now getting a word from God? I've been a Christian for how long? And this is now the word that I'm finally hearing you, God. Like, you're literally in my mind showing me the word stand. And I'm so blessed by that word, because it might just seem like a word to you, but had I not had that in the back of my mind, I would have quit. And, even through the heart, like driving up to our divorce paper signing, God was like, stand. And I'm like, what? And through all the things, he was like, stand. And I stood when people told me I shouldn't stand. And I'm just so thankful for the friends that, believe in the same things that we do. And when I told them that, they were like, well, we're going to stand with you, and we're going to pray with you, and we're going to do this thing. And you guys, we're going to sit down at a table again, a year or however long it takes, and it's going to work itself out. And it did. So my advice is find good people who believe in you, who love your significant other, who love you and want what's best for you, because marriage is a beautiful thing, and it takes a long time to probably make it perfect if we ever get there, right? But it's not worth it to quit.
Yeah. That's a good word. That's a really good word. I honestly believe that like we had to go through the difficult times to appreciate the good times.
Me too.
Yeah, and I don't even want to say that like with full disclaimer, if you're in a toxic relationship and somebody's hurting you or threatening, as a disclaimer, go find help. Don't stay in a toxic situation because it's 2020, so people gotta have those disclaimers. I saw this podcast and they said stay, so yeah, just for legal purposes. I don't even know if that's a thing, but it's 2020, you never know. But I really think that's a word, and I believe that if we can help another couple, like even if it's just one couple, like if we can just return what we've been giving, I think that's a win. I really do.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that's my prayer, is to be like Stephanie and Vince, to one day be on the other side of the table sharing our testimony, and them to look at us and be like, how did that ever happen? Because you're such a beautiful couple and what you have now is beautiful. So I pray to God that he sends us those people. And if you are struggling right now and you need some advice or you need help, please reach out to us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. If you're on YouTube, don't forget, like, subscribe. All social media platforms, give me a follow at Hoops to Homes, at Sam Coleman Jr., and give Miss Kara some love. Miss Kara some love. Come on, give it up for my wife.
Am I supposed to clap for myself?
Yeah, clap for yourself. Yeah. I'll see you guys on the next one.